Welcome to CineMyles, the show for cinephiles. I'm your host, Miles Hughes, and I'm joined by a very special guest today. He is a senior staff writer over at the awards circuit and a freelance Oscar prognosticator at large. He's also a sex god and the most eligible bachelor of 1997. Please welcome Mr. Joey Magidson.
Only part of that was dictated by me previously.
And today we are going to discuss what we think the Oscar nominees are going to be for this past year in film. The nominees will be announced January 24th, so we thought now that we're in the thick of the season, we'd sort of go ahead and say what we think is going to be announced. Best Picture. Now, I think we can both agree that throughout the season, there have been three locks that no matter what happens, these three films are definitely going to get in there. Joe, what are they?
La La Land, Moonlight, and Manchester by the Sea.
I don't think anyone has any doubt that these three films are getting in. I would say Arrival has a very good chance of getting in. Fences, Hacksaw Ridge, Hell or High Water, and I'm going to go ahead and say Jackie, which isn't necessarily a popular choice, because there's always at least one surprise, right? And especially now that they've changed it so that there's 5 to 10 nominees instead of just a set number, it's kind of hard to gauge which ones might sneak in. So I'm saying that one might sneak in. I'll go ahead and include Hidden Figures.
Mostly on point. I think as much as I love Jackie, it fares better if it was a set 10 where you can more freely vote for odd things. Voters are still picking 5 movies, so it's really about what your favorite movie of the year is and what can get a 2, maybe a 3 vote. You know, if you're getting a lot of 4s and 5s, you're probably not getting in, which is why you'll probably not see like a 20th Century Women or a Loving probably get in. They're just not going to be number 1. Top 3, pretty set. La La Land, Moonlight, Manchester. They're the only 3 that can win. Arrival I have also at 4. Don't think it can win anything, but I have it getting about 8 nominations, so it makes sense. Then you have like a 5, 6, 7 I feel pretty confident about, of Lion, Hell or High Water, and Hidden Figures. They're not going to win. They may not win anything all night, but they're all going to get in the realm of, 4 to 7 nominations, maybe 3. And I think if there's 7, that's the 7. Then you get into the 8 or 9. You probably won't get 10. I believe the numbers they always ran were 5 or 10 is only in a really good or really bad year, just the way the stats work out. So 6, 7, 8, 9 is really where you're going to probably see it. So those 7 probably are in. If there's 8, pretty sure Fences gets in. I don't really know that it's anyone's number 1, but it's going to be, I think, enough on people's lists to slip in. So then you got Hacksaw Ridge. Similar boat, but it's got just enough on the tech side for number 9.
Good deal. Let's go ahead and talk about Best Director. So what are your predictions for the 5 that are getting in?
You have the same 3 like in picture, and I think you probably can make the case with DJ nod that Arrival is the 4th for Denis Villeneuve, or however he's pronouncing it this week. I have met him and still can't pronounce his name, so I suspect he will get in. Like if that movie's getting in the picture, I feel like he's coming along for the ride. For the longest time, I had David Mackenzie for Hell or High Water. I was really banking on that DGA nod. I could still switch back, but for the moment, I'm going to be boring and go with the DGA 5 and have Garth Davis for Lion.
We have the same top 4. I think Damien Chazelle's a lock and probably the front runner to win, honestly. Barry Jenkins for sure, Kenneth Lonergan for sure. I agree, Denis Villeneuve or however is just because it's such a directed film. Yeah. And then in my 5th, I actually have Mel Gibson. I feel like there's just been so much love for Hacksaw over the season. That one also, I feel like, is, regardless of how you feel about how it was directed, was very distinctively directed. And I feel like they might lean towards that just because of how much craftsmanship and showmanship is present within the film.
Probably is most direction.
Most direction, if not necessarily best direction. Moving on to Best Actor, I think this has for the longest time been a 2-horse race between Casey Affleck and Denzel Washington. They're the locks, they're the ones who are going to go in, and it's between the two of them, although, if we're being honest, it's probably going to be Casey. As for the other slots, I think we can both agree that Ryan Gosling's probably a shoo-in. I would say Andrew Garfield is a pretty good bet, kind of as a joint nomination for his work in Hacksaw and Silence, even though he'll get it for Hacksaw. In my 5 slot, I actually have Tom Hanks, because Best Actor, I feel like, is often very consistently the category where we tend to get at least one kind of head-scratcher surprise that didn't necessarily have a lot of steam during the season, but is still one that you're like, okay, well, I can still see why they went that way. So I'm leaning towards that way, even though I know Viggo Mortensen's got a lot of love.
I have Viggo as my 4, actually. I have Edgerton at 6 and Hanks at 7. I just don't buy Hanks getting in now with really no love after not getting into Captain Phillips when there was love and plenty of Academy love, and not getting in for playing, Walt Disney. Like he is consistently missed in things you wouldn't expect him to miss with. So I maybe that means he'll surprisingly get in.
Moving on to Best Actress. This one has kind of really consistently evolved over the season, and a handful that I thought would be sure things have sort of been left in the cold. Emma Stone is a lock and probably the front runner. Natalie Portman for Jackie, I'd say, is definitely getting in. I want to say Amy Adams for Arrival, although she's not as much of a sure thing as I wish she was. The other two slots are a little less definitive, so I'm going to go ahead and say Isabelle Huppert for Elle. And because she always gets in, I don't like it, but Meryl Streep is probably looking at yet another of her many, many nominations.
Yes, we have the same 5, though I only recently switched to Emma Stone at 1. For the longest time, it seemed like Natalie Portman was going to just sort of cakewalk. I feel solid about Stone, Portman 1, 2, however you want it. Amy Adams 3 for Arrival, because especially if you have it in picture and director, they're not going to not have the actress come along. And then your 4 or 5 is probably Streep and Huppert. Huppert could maybe miss because for those of you who have seen the movie, there are going to be voters who will turn it off about 30 seconds in. So that will limit them, but there will also now, because of the Globe win, be people who might vote for her without seeing it, which is always the hidden danger in Oscar voting. So I think that gives them the edge.
Moving on to Best Supporting Actor, which has also been a little loosey-goosey. What do you got for this one?
Throw a rock. No, I have the steady 5 I've had for about 2 or 3 months now, which is Mahershala Ali for Moonlight, Jeff Bridges, Hell or High Water, Dev Patel, Lion, Hugh Grant, Florence Foster Jenkins, Lucas Hedges, Manchester by the Sea. I think Lucas Hedges is the very vulnerable one. But the problem is I don't know who to put next. So for the longest time I had Peter Sarsgaard for Jackie, but that movie is fading fast. Ben Foster for Hell or High Water has a couple of the nominations you would hope he would get. Obviously the elephant in the room is Aaron Taylor-Johnson, who...
Yeah, I don't understand that one. First off, he's not even the best supporting actor in that movie. Michael Shannon steals that movie.
Also, he's not good in the movie.
We have a lot of the same ones. I agree with Mahershala Ali. I agree with Jeff Bridges. I think Lucas Hedges is a little steadier, especially if they really show a lot of love to Manchester. There tends to be an up-and-comer somewhere in there. I think Dev Patel is definitely in a safe place. And I've got Aaron Taylor-Johnson in there, even though I don't agree with it, because he did win the Globe and he is at the BAFTAs. Like, even though it doesn't make sense, I'd honestly put him there over Hugh Grant.
Yeah, if he shows up, he showed up at the right time.
That takes us to the final category that we're going to be talking about tonight, which is Best Supporting Actress. So for this one, I have the front runner all season, who I think nobody would argue is most likely going to take home the gold, which is Viola Davis. I think Naomi Harris is in an incredibly strong place. Nicole Kidman's been there pretty much all season. Octavia Spencer, they like her a lot, and if Hidden Figures doesn't get any other acting nominations, they can probably at least count on this one. And then finally, someone who's been in a safe spot all season, Michelle Williams.
Yeah, we have the same 5, just a different order. I have Davis, Williams, Harris, Kidman, Spencer. If there's a surprise, it's probably either Greta Gerwig slipping in for 20th Century Women, but that would require the movie doing better elsewhere, or possibly instead of Spencer, you get Janelle Monáe. So this is an incredibly weak category. I mean, at 7, I have Lily Gladstone for Certain Women, which is never in a million years going to happen, just a critic's favorite. So it's, barring a surprise, it's pretty much that's about it, which is a shame. There are a lot of other categories where things are way more competitive.
Overall, it's been an interesting season. Not the best, not the worst, but just there's a lot of interesting stuff to talk about, and I think we'll both be very excited to see what the nominations turn out to be on the 24th. So be sure to tune in then, and be sure to tune in February when we do our full and final predictions video as a follow-up to this one.
In case someone doesn't watch then, just La La Land's going to win a lot. There you go.
La La Land's probably going to win most of the things.
I have it getting 14 nominations, so let's assume it's going to win about, 6 or 7 at least.
All right, so thank you so much for watching. Thank you for watching CineMyles. Be sure to like, share, comment, subscribe, do all those fun things. Thank you so much for joining me, Joey.
My pleasure.
And we will see you all on the flip side. Have a good night.
Take care.